Hello. Meow. Huh. Okay. Interesting. Aha.
Well, hello.
Hello. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Pretty good. I just updated to the latest version of Zoom, and now I have numbers next to our names, which is
Numbers?
it's very interesting. Yeah. Um, so mine says meeting presenter, comma 360 at -1, and everybody else's says their name, comma 0 at 0.
Huh.
I have no idea. And
Got nothing. Sorry.
well, I was thinking maybe it was placement of uh where my video is, but I don't know. I'm also not seeing anybody else's videos. So,
Oh, wait, maybe mine's off. I wasn't paying attention.
oh, yep, everybody's is off. There you are.
There.
I thought maybe the latest version was broken. Now yours says -1. That's interesting. Maybe it's got something to do with whether or not video's on, or maybe it's some sort of diagnostic thing that they forgot to turn off. Anything new going on?
I've been playing with getting benchmarks for a bunch of stuff. That's kind of fun.
Okay.
But no, nothing major.
Nothing really new. I uh I tried a just just because uh distro, what was it?
Hmm.
Solaris?
Wait,
Uh
Solaris?
no, that's not it. I knew it as soon as I said it. It's got a Bungie de desktop, and I kind of like it, but you remember a couple weeks ago I had read an article that said how Linux was not very customizable. I
Hmm.
I couldn't find very many customizable things to change how that desktop looked in that one. And I was like, maybe if they used this desktop, maybe it's not as customizable.
That could be.
So now I just have to remember what the name of that distro was. Basically, I wanted to see if it saw the camera on the other machine, and it did. So I'm pretty sure that camera's just gone. Oh, Art's here.
How you doing?
Pretty good. Art's got some old computers in the background.
Actually, this is a photo
Oh,
out of my classroom from, I think this is probably close to 15 years ago, something like that.
So they would have been new computers then.
Well, actually not. They were already
They were already still.
they were already legacy computers.
Looks like a G400.
I don't even remember at this point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's
It was whatever the school provided for the classroom. So, at any rate, so we are virtual today, obviously.
obviously. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that distro was called Solus. Solus. And it's the 2025 Budgie desktop release. Interesting.
What's a bungee?
Budgie for a
Budgie.
bird.
Budgie.
Budgie, I think.
Budgie. It's just a different desktop environment.
You can mount it on Mint or Ubuntu or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's in the repositories for all the major distros. Supposedly it's supposed to be better in some ways, and I don't know. I've used it once or twice. I kind of like it, but it seemed to me like it was lacking some features that, you know, like Cinnamon has or Mate has. And this experience really wasn't any different. It's a pretty desktop. It really is, but it just seemed like it was lacking a whole lot of control of themes and making a whole lot of changes, you know, how everybody's desktop who uses, you know, Mint or uh, Cinnamon or Mate or whatever, everybody's desktop is just a little bit different because we can customize it. So this just seemed like it kind of lacked some of that customization skill to it. I could change the theme from dark to light, but even then, some of the windows still came up with a dark theme. So I don't know, you know. But I played around with the well, I took apart the Roller 485 uh robot, the one that used the BLDC drives. Uh Printed out some gears for that. I've got a video of the gears. Decided that the gears kind of help, but I need to find a better way to mount everything because it it's not mounted real well. Um, so I got a video of me playing around with gears, and I played around with more temperature sensors, which I think I played around with was playing around with them a little bit last week. But these two are very different sensors, but they are very close in telling me the same thing sitting next to each other. So these these are the two that I think are the most accurate out of all the temperature sensors that I've got. And that's about all I did this week.
Or are they using the same base unit?
No. Um, the base unit, I mean, technically, yes, it's an ESP32, but this one has an OLED display where that one has a TFT display, a color display. So,
No, I was actually asking about the temperature
oh,
sensing
the
device.
sensors. This is the M5 Stack Environment Pro sensor, EMV Pro. This is the EMV2 sensor.
Okay.
And see, this one has a BME 688 sensor in it, which also does the air quality index thing. This one has two separate sensors, SHT30 and a BMP 280 in it, and it doesn't do the air quality, but as far as temperature and humidity and that goes, they're very, very close. The barometric pressure and uh, humidity. The humidity's off a little, but it's close enough. The temperatures seem to once you have them on for a little bit, the temperature seems to stabilize at just about the same spot. So like this one says like 74 degrees and this one says like 73 or 70. It might say 75. It might be a little bit higher, but either way, it's close enough that you could look at them and go, okay, we're in the mid 70s. I was going to mount that one out next to the thermostat and try to wire up a little because I don't think our thermostat's very accurate. I was going to try to wire up like a little servo motor to pull up the thing or turn off the thing so that
What kind of a thermostat?
oh,
Who's in?
it's an old Mercury thermostat, and uh it's not so much the apartment complex won't let me change it. I wanted to change it to a digital. They won't let me. I opened it up and looked, and it uses a weird wiring thing um, that does not seem to be. I Googled it, and it doesn't seem to be like a standard thing. So they said that they could get me a digital thermostat, but they were expensive. And if my thermostat was working, they didn't want to buy it. And I'm like, it works. It's just not great. So trying to get them to buy a thermostat for a new thermostat. It took me about it took about 2 weeks for them to finally realize that the uh air conditioning um the blower motor had stopped working. And I kept telling them it's making a horrible noise. It's making a horrible noise. And they were like, every time they would come in here, it worked fine. Every single time. They went out last season and the AC was froze up. And he came in and I said, yeah, I don't doubt that it froze up. The blower isn't working. And he was standing there and I turned it on and it went. He goes, oh, is that what you've been trying to tell us it's doing? Yes, that's what I've been. Took him like 5 minutes to fix it. I mean, he went down to a shop, got a new blower motor, put it in. It took like 5 minutes. 2 weeks of my blower motor's busted.
So do you have individual air conditioning units on
Yeah,
each?
yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, and honestly, they're pretty good about the maintenance here. But when they showed up, it's like trying to get your car fixed. You know there's a problem with the car, but it doesn't do it when the mechanic's actually looking at it.
Yeah.
So it was sort of the same thing. Of course, the blower motor is going to work fine when the maintenance guys are here. They, I, you know, when they said your AC is froze up, I was like, well, there's no doubt in my mind that the AC is froze up because the blower motor doesn't work. So that was fun. He even said when he pulled it out, I wish I had taken a picture of this blower motor. It was just caked with 40 years of garbage. I mean, just it was
So it
just
wasn't just iced up, it
oh
was
no. No, the blower motor was had been starting to go bad, like I said, for probably about 2 weeks. Um, and it's an old blower motor. It's an old furnace. It's an old they replaced the AC unit with a modern AC unit last year, 2 years ago. But the AC unit that they replaced had been here since the building had been built. Um, it, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, this thing was just caked with dirt and grime but it kept trying to go. It kept trying and trying and trying. And he was like, that must be a decent motor if it keeps wanting to try to do something. I'm like, well, I guess.
Their maintenance isn't all that good if they hadn't been in there to vacuum it out at least once in something odd years.
They come in every year and put new filters in, but they don't do any actual maintenance.
Uh,
Yeah. Oh, every time we've called them with a problem, though, especially if it was AC related or heat related, they were down here within a few minutes to attempt to fix the problem.
well, that's cool, at least.
Yeah. Um, it's taking them a little bit longer to come down to turn water on and off. But if we had a major leak or something, they would be down here in a heartbeat because we're on the second floor. They don't want it to leak down to the first floor. They don't want that kind of problem to deal with. But our maintenance guys are pretty good. They're not bad. I think they're very overworked and probably don't have the funding to do a whole lot of actual real maintenance.
Yeah, that's true pretty much everywhere.
So I think they're I think they're keeping everything working because I know for a fact he took my blower motor, the old one, back up to his shop and he was sitting out in the their outbuilding, beating on it with a hammer, getting all the sludge off of it. They were going to rebuild it. I know for a fact that's what they were doing. It, they the one that they brought me was a rebuilt motor, probably because the furnace is 1,000 years old. It's not that old, but the furnace it's been here a long time,
Long enough to be hard to get parts for and
long enough,
worthwhile to rebuild.
long enough to that it's hard enough to get parts for, and it's using a weird wiring system that modern thermostats don't use. So they just keeping everything running until it finally dies. Dun, dun, dun. Huh. Everybody's numbers have changed again.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
The updated Zoom. I updated Zoom last night. And there's numbers by everybody's name. And when
Oh.
you joined the group, everybody's numbers changed. I have no idea what these numbers are.
I think they're the qubits per second that are going through that aqueduct behind Steve.
Yes, probably.
Yeah, I changed I updated as of, I don't know, dark 100 this morning. And I hadn't run it, so I have no opportunity to see what changed, if anything.
Well, this may, if you're not seeing numbers next to your name, this may be something for the host side. I have no idea.
No, I got numbers next to my name, and I can see
Do you?
numbers next to Mike's name and Steve's name and your name
Oh,
and
I
Barry's
don't.
name.
Hmm.
Yeah,
So it might be a diagnostic thing that they left turned on for some
well,
reason.
interestingly enough, the number next to your name and Steve's name
Mm-hmm.
and Mike's name are all the same. Barry's name is different. It's a zero at sign
And a zero.
and a zero.
Yeah.
And mine is, oh, mine just changed again.
Is it maybe the resolution that you're looking at or something? Whether
Well,
it's full screen or not?
I haven't changed resolution in the last 5 minutes. So, as a matter of fact, it's hopping back and forth on mine. I see 360 at 14
Yeah.
and
180 at some other number.
yeah, 180 at 25 just changed. Just, you know, randomly changed. And I see Mike is 180 at -1. Yours is 180 at -1, and Steve's is 180 at -1. Barry's is 0 at 0, and mine just changed to 180 at 25. So I don't know.
So the first number is probably whether they have video blocked or not. That's easy to test. See if mine changes. Did mine just become 0 at?
No.
No,
Oh, well,
but your screen went blank.
never mind.
No,
Maybe it's for muted.
I think the second number might have something to do with the video. I'm not sure what the first number.
Looking at the pictures that are on the screen, the resolution that is showing up for me in my image looks like it's about twice the resolution I'm getting for you three. And naturally, Barry, I'm not getting any resolution there.
Really?
Yeah. Barry's doesn't have a webcam.
Okay.
Well, he's in the stealth mode.
He's in stealth.
Yeah.
So
this camera is a 1080p. I don't
Ninja.
know what yours are.
Mine keeps jumping back and forth between 360 and some other number and 180 and some other number. But it didn't start jumping back and forth until you joined the chat, Mike. So
Hmm. The I see no flicker, I see no change, and all of you have real names.
Oh, so you think.
we are somebody at somebody. I I I I think it's probably some diagnostic tool that got turned on
and not turned off.
and not turned off, and it's got something to do with video. Maybe it is resolution. Maybe a frame rate.
That's weird.
Three three 360 at 14 frames
Mine
per
is
second.
360 at 14, and then it went to 180 at
See,
22. I mean, it's
over here on my side, you haven't changed. It's been 180 at 8 since.
looking at my screen here.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
it's
seeing
changing.
360 at 24. It just went to 180 at 19.
It's
Yeah, I think you're right. I think they've turned on something they just
Okay.
forgot to
I'm gonna
turn
click.
on.
I'm gonna click my video off here. Just see what it changes. Out of curiosity.
nope.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep.
Maybe it's trying to tell us screen real estate. I really don't know. So there's 5 of us now on the screen, on a single screen.
Well, I think you're probably right that they've turned something on. It's a diagnostic, and it's somebody just forgot to turn it off before releasing the.
Yeah. I think that's all it is they did stuff and, and forgot they did it.
The worst case of that I ever encountered, a long time ago, there was a radioactive americium source that was charged in Auburn Steel's electric furnace, contaminated the furnace, the bag house, all of the uh, Hundishes and Strand, and put them out of business for 6 months. And I thought, fluke, that'll never happen again. And suddenly it did happen again. And it happened and was discovered with material coming into Los Alamos. So I figured we need to take care of that to prevent that from happening at Middletown Works. So we purchased some large scintillation detectors that were put on the sides and above the rail cars as they passed through. And the way they worked was they blocked the background radiation so that the level, once a car was within the scintillation detectors, the level of radiation actually went down. And the very clever people in the manufactured these systems took advantage of that. And we put 2 of them in place, one on each of the railroad scales. And we bought them from different manufacturers. And the technician came in on one of them and put it in test mode and forgot to take it out of the test mode. So 6 months later, the technician comes back in and said, "Oh, well, we haven't been testing." It's like, I'm glad that I had the forethought to buy from 2 different manufacturers so that we had a redundant system. Because I don't know how many millions of dollars it would have cost had we charged the source. And they were super, super sensitive. We had them on the truck scales as well as the rail scales. And a gentleman had had a stress test, and he'd been injected with radioactive palladium, I believe it was, 2 weeks earlier. And as he drove through the scale, he set the detector off. And we were trying to figure out how are we going to figure out what's the matter here, because there was nothing that was evident in this truck. It was wood. So I took a stepladder down, put him between the detectors, and then manually covered up the photo sensors so that they turned on. And sure enough, he triggered the alarm. Whereas when I was on the stepladder, I did not. So we figure it was left over from the injection of the palladium. I don't know what small levels they were capable of detecting, but we never had to find out. We also pushed that back further to our scrap suppliers and forced them to put in radioactive scintillation detectors for their incoming and outgoing scrap, so that everything was protected all the way around. And they had multiple real-time alarms from radium that was in the well water, built up on lime. And so when people brought in piping from piping systems and stuff that had lime buildup, they were shut down until the state would come in and check out what they had.
Hmm.
But it's a real thing where people make mistakes and turn off a system, and you think you're fat, dumb, and happy testing everything that goes. And it's like, nope.
I would imagine, like you said, it's a good thing you went with two different manufacturers, but I would imagine leaving a system to detect radiation in test mode a lot worse than leaving numbers on a screen for Zoom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The potential would be a lot worse.
So
Well, we'll see next week. Maybe
maybe these numbers will go away.
yeah. Well, there would be a new release, and the numbers would go away.
More
I'm up to 6.4.0. I don't know.
yeah, I didn't pay attention to what the actual release was.
Well, previously we'd been in a sequence of 6.3s, and this is the first one that I've got that's 6.4.
Yeah.
For some reason, Art, I thought you were going to say that you're going to chuck a radioactive source into Middletown Works. And we'll see next week how that works.
Well, yeah. Nah. Hopefully, I no longer glow in the dark.
That was an interesting part of my job.
I don't understand how somebody that has radioactive sources don't realize that they're shipping off contaminated material.
Well, the case of Los Alamos, the steel was contaminated in Aros Nacionales, Mexican steel company, and the if I can recall correctly, they had a cancer treatment center that had been shut down, and the device was salvaged from the shutdown facility. And because it was stainless steel, it was a premium scrap item. And they didn't have any markings or ID on the outside of it. And that was charged. They ended up turning it into picnic table legs and tubing and shovels. And the picnic tables eventually made it as incoming material to Los Alamos. Well, naturally, Los Alamos is very particular about what goes out of the facility, but they leave the detectors on. They don't turn them on at all. So the incoming shipment of picnic table legs set off the detector, and they were tracing it back and found out what had gone on with it. But third world countries, it's not uncommon for the sources to be lost. The one that was particularly egregious was down in Brazil. They broke open a containment, and they were mesmerized by this powdery material that went off a green glowing light. And they thought it was so neat. They made little baggies of it, gave it to their friends, and passed it around. The pickup truck that they had it in was so badly contaminated, they couldn't even deal with it. They just came in and poured concrete into the bed of the truck until it was the levels were low enough to drag it off. And the people who thought it was such a nice gift to give to their friends, they perished from it.
Mm. Have some Madeira, my dear.
Yep.
Well, it's like the radium dials on the watches. The ladies that painted the numbers on the watch faces had a rather high mortality rate.
Yeah. The story, as I read it, is they would tip their brush
Yeah.
with saliva to make a finer point.
Yep.
At one time, that was the material was being used to treat people. And they say, even till today, if you walk through old cemeteries with a Geiger counter, you can find graves of people who were treated with it.
What did they treat with radium? Darkness?
No, it was I won't say quackery, but it was not modern medicine.
That's almost the same as treating with cocaine and some of
Oh,
the
yeah.
other stuff that we just know is not good now.
Yeah, that Bayer came up with that new drug that was wonderful, replaced all the side effects of morphine, and they patented it as heroin.
Heroin. Yep.
As I say, the UC when they got caught, they were dosing people like placebos that were radioactive medication or whatever. My one of my professors' day job was working for on military or whatever for trying to figure out how much exposure and when somebody was exposed. So they were probably his patients.
Lawyers would have a field day.
Yeah. And in some cases, justly so. I compared my external beam radiotherapy to what was allowed occupationally. And best I could calculate, I received about 60 times therapeutically what I would be allowed to have occupationally.
Yeah. I You want to see some gears driving motors,
Sure.
some 3D printed gears? How am I doing this? All right. Can you see it?
Ah, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. So basically, this is just one motor off the robot. I tried to 3D print the little T-nub things that hold the wheel and go in the other motor. And you can see it's not real good. It really needs to be more secure in there. This one's a little bit better.
Is that really purple?
Yeah. The filament that I have loaded right now is purple, so I just left it alone.
What's the material?
PLA. So that
It
one,
it looks like the two purple gears are not coplanar.
they are not they're not meshed up real well. That is. Then there's this one where I flipped the two around because I just wanted to play. The biggest problem is the black pieces that I 3D printed are not real straight. They're not real good pieces and they don't really fit real well. So
Well,
I
that
am going,
looks pretty darn good to me.
yeah, that one's not bad. I am going to go to the Lego store though and see if I can buy a set of gears and buy some better pieces that will actually fit together correctly and buy some of the little wheel hub pieces that so I could actually have some longer wheel hubs. So I've only got two I stole those out of a kit that one of the grandkids had for a little car. I've only got two of those little centerpieces. Those little
So where's this Lego store you're talking about?
well, I know there was one in Dayton. I don't know if it's still there. It's been a year and a half since I've been there, but I think like at some of the flea markets, there are places that have Lego parts that you can just buy individual parts.
But this was a store that was owned by Legos or
No,
just sold Legos parts?
it was owned by I don't remember who owned it. But 100% of everything in this store was Lego. That's all it was.
Really?
And um they had a big, huge area that was nothing but open parts, just loose pieces that were either left over from kits or that it was just a bunch of loose pieces. And they had anything you want and you could put they had a spot that was $5 per bag. They would give you a decent little baggie, Ziploc baggie, and you could fill that thing completely full. As long as it would zip closed, it would cost you $5. So
Oh, so you just went into bins and grabbed stuff?
just start loading, just start scooping out and putting in there. But most people that I went that I saw up there that were actually doing that, um, they were very specifically looking for certain parts and pieces, and they were very carefully, and they didn't care if there was only a few pieces in their bag. It was worth $5 to them because they
Now,
were looking for something very specific.
how were all of these pieces organized? They weren't organized
They-
like Lowe's where they're just all in 100,000 different parts in a big bin.
Pretty much, there was it was probably a 12-foot table, 12 by 2, and it had little bins on it so that it just made it easier to keep track of, I guess. But there was no organization. It was not organized. That they would just dump stuff in, and they had certain days where they would put new different stuff in the parts bin. So they were getting their parts from somewhere, and like Wednesday would be part bin day. You go up there, they would give you a baggie or two baggies or 12 baggies or however many you wanted, and it's $5 a bag. And
So Wednesday you went Lego mining.
well, that would be the new part day. So if you were looking for something very specific, Wednesday would be the day to go. But you could go up there any day out of the week and Lego mine. Um, it was it, it was pretty neat. Of course, at the
Now,
time, I didn't need parts, so you know.
now were these flawed parts or were they good?
I don't think they were flawed. I think
I
they
say they're
were,
probably fine.
yeah,
There's a little place over here in Amelia that or east, Beachmontish area, Bricks Beyond or whatever. They buy up old used Lego sets, or people bring in family stuff and they just break it up by colors or whatever.
yeah,
Half Price Books does that too. Um, where they
Half
sell,
Price Books has Legos?
yeah.
oh yeah, and little bags of like they'll have random blocks and blue or green and bags of like a couple hundred pieces or something.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
All half price books do, or just some?
I would think about any of them, but I don't know. I don't go to very many of them.
I've
Okay.
seen them. I've seen them at two different stores, but they're kind of hit or miss. Sometimes they've got them and sometimes they don't.
Yeah, as I say, I've seen them out here in Cherry Grove a few times because they do sell. Because they'll
They,
sell, like a couple hundred for like $5, like he's saying, in a bag,
yeah.
and people will buy them just because it's cheaper than ordering them.
Oh, it's the problem with the way Half Price Books does it is you don't really get to choose. You get what they put in a bag. They make the bags.
Yeah, but it's still usually a lot better
Yeah, it's
than.
it's usually a good deal. I mean, when a kit costs a couple of $100, $5 for some parts isn't a big deal. Um, but yeah, I
I don't know
think
if it's,
do what?
sorry, I don't know if it's still there or not. I'm getting mixed info, but Kenwood Town Center has an actual Lego store,
Okay.
or they used
Well,
to.
Yeah,
they also have a half price books there.
yeah. The Kenwood Lego store actually has like random stuff you can pick and put in a little cup, but there ain't very many pieces you get to pick from. There's only like 30.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
There at one of the flea markets there in Monroe, there was a guy who dealt exclusively with Lego stuff, and it was a smaller parts bin, but he had a parts bin where you could just pull out what you wanted. And I know, if you just needed one part, he was much more likely to say, okay, give me a dime for that or whatever, or just take it. But if you wanted to, you could load up a little bag and he would $5 or $7 for the bag or whatever. It was a good deal. So, um, there's plenty of places around where you could get Legos. There's not so many places around like the gears. I'm printing a 120 tooth gear right now that's Lego compatible. And I don't know if Lego officially makes a gear that big. So,
Well, now, is there some place that you can get designs for Lego parts? In other words, say I need a particular part and I can 3D print that part, but I need a design.
Let's say Lego will happily manufacture you a part.
Yes, they will.
I'm sure.
um, I have seen on Thingiverse the official Lego logo show up a few times. I didn't investigate very far, but I think they officially make some that you can 3D print. And I'm pretty sure the reason why we're seeing so many third party Lego pieces is because they finally got around to saying that you could make your own parts.
So in effect, they open source the design.
I'm seeing it as an impossible task for Lego to prohibit people from 3D printing anything.
Well, I was just say, I think them suing the kid really hurt their market share.
Wait, who did they sue? What?
They sued a 9-year-old kid who designed his own stuff with Legos and made like his own kit.
Was he trying to sell it?
Nope.
Oh,
He
yeah,
was
that's wrong.
he had a YouTube channel that he was showing off what he was making. And they ended up turning around and dropping the suit with the new CEO and then hiring him as a design guy.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's why you see all these new random kits, so like the flower kits and the architect stuff and the just random, I mean, all kinds of stuff. The old 80s tooling and stuff.
Yeah, I would imagine that someplace in a marketing book it says, "Do not sue 9-year-olds."
How to endear yourself to other companies, but not to the public.
Not to your customer base.
Yeah.
So I'm on the Lego website right now, and the only official Lego store is the Kenwood Town Center.
Oh, really?
Yeah, around us. So,
Okay.
I mean, obviously there's others around other areas, but the the official Lego store for our area is the Kenwood Town Center. But I was
Is
looking,
that
I was trying to, because it seems to me like somewhere there are the design specs, and I don't see them on the site. I thought they were here. I thought they actually said what you could and couldn't officially do with their stuff. If you go on Thingiverse, though, there is a bunch of different 3D parts that you can print from Lego or for they will plug directly into Legos. So And like I said, I've even seen the official Lego logo show up on a couple of those parts. And I am almost positive that if you don't have a license to use the Lego brand, Lego is going to come
Oh,
after
yeah.
you. So,
Well, unless you're a 9-year-old.
Well, even if you're a 9-year-old and you're plastering the official Lego on a website, they might contact you and say, "Don't do that."
don't do that. You can say Lego compatible all you want, but you can't use our brand
Or artwork.
or artwork. So,
Where's Lego's manufacturing facility actually located? Do you know?
Sweden.
Yeah.
Sweden? Okay.
ABS injection molding.
Is that what they are? ABS?
Yep. Of course, nowadays, they might be using that new stuff. What's it? Um, there's a new replacement to ABS. That's a little better. They might be have switched plastic type, but yeah, they're the last umpteen decades it's been ABS.
yeah.
Now, does Legos make the Duplos?
I would suspect there's a really good documentary. I haven't finished watching it, but there's like a thing where they walk you through and show you all their I don't know if it was I can't remember if it was on their website or YouTube somewhere. I came across it. Um, then they show you how they do it and make it, and they actually sell off. Like so, when they switch colors, they don't bother cleaning the machines. They just extrude and do like multicolored bins, and they've gotten to where they sell that off too. Because that's become kind of a collector thing to get the mixed colors, like tie-dye colors, and they sell them real cheap.
Mm-hmm.
So they get more money out of their scrap. But it's kind of funny. It takes about 2 or 3 batches before it actually gets all the other color out. Which seems,
Dilute it down.
yeah. So
Um,
Smarter Every Day had a program on a couple of months ago about frisbee manufacturing. They went in and talked about how they conducted the plastic pellets from one place to the other pneumatically and weighed them and got them set up and stuff. That was kind of a neat process, just watching them manufacture custom frisbees.
Were these customized in size or profile or what?
I I am just a backyard frisbee person. I don't know all the particulars in and out of the weight, dimensions, profile, or any of that, but apparently I gleaned from watching this on Smarter Every Day that there's some real diehard, maniacal, clever engineers that are putting the weight at the outside. They have to meet specifications for these frisbee tosses and stuff, and they're doing everything in terms of the profile, the weight distribution, the type of plastic, and design. I was just kind of fascinated as an outside observer as to what was going on. I thought it was kind of neat though, but because he put a like a GoPro that went inside the personnel protection cages for the robotic processes. So you got the impression you were riding along in the middle of a frisbee, watching what was going on.
I think that'd make me sick.
Yeah, you'd end up if you have any motion sickness problem.
Um, well, I enjoy watching his videos simply because he gets so enthused about everything he's talking about.
Wow. Lego is everywhere, apparently. They own amusement parks. They have Lego park compatible Levi jeans. So the Levi Jean Company and Lego partnered up and made jeans that have Lego compatible parts on them. They have partnership with IKEA. They partnered with Adidas, Fortnite, video games. They're everywhere. They've got amusement parks and retail stores, and they're 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 a small version of Disney.
I just had this very sick thought. Lego is going to pair up with a condom
Oh,
manufacturer.
that's bad.
Yes. Um,
I mean, I knew they had video games, and I think I knew that they had an amusement park, but I had no idea that they were had their hands in a little bit of all kinds of different stuff. And I can't imagine me ever buying a pair of Levi jeans that have Lego parts on them. I have no idea why I would need that.
You can have blinky LED lights in your shirt.
well, um, Leroy, since you're such an influencer in the fashion world,
Yes,
you don't need to have the Lego influence.
my my style is black. That's
Someone said one time, the French follow no one, and no one follows the French. Leroy follows no one, and no one follows Leroy.
honestly, after I got married, I pretty much stopped caring about that sort of stuff. I've
Well, they
already done,
call it the rag trade for a reason.
yeah. This this little bending Rodriguez robot, he was not made by Lego, but he's got Lego compatible parts on him. So I could plug him into a Lego piece. But
I've never measured those and looked at the spacing or anything. I'm pretty certain it'd be metric.
Yeah,
yeah. Well,
pretty
that's
certain
what
it's
I
four
mean.
millimeter dots on 8 millimeter spacing.
Yeah. Somewhere it's published. Somewhere they've released the specs so that you can make your own compatible pieces. I just don't know where that's at. I can't find it. Maybe you have to be an insider.
Probably it's an ISO standard.
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
I'm sure it is.
Well, I was looking at the Wikipedia for Lego, and there's one Chinese company that has duplicated their
Yeah.
stuff so badly that Lego
There's
has sued them.
there's at least two or three Chinese knockoffs.
Yeah. But there's one that is doing it so good, I guess.
Well, I mean, like I said, it's not like you can't buy a Lego and measure it with a tool. And Chinese copied it long ago, the Mega Blocks or whatever, a
Yeah.
couple
Yeah.
other brands. There's a Zyno or something that they have like half the height. Um,
Yep.
those are kind of actually pretty nice because they're building like military craft and planes and stuff. They're a lot more detailed than Lego can do.
One of the
To do.
one of the orders that I got from China, it was missing one of the things I ordered, but there was a small baggie of Lego parts in it. And I'm looking at this bag and I'm going, well, these aren't real Legos. I mean, you could tell, but they do. They've got like some half height pieces and some quarter height pieces. They're actually pretty useful pieces, but they're compatible, plug right onto a Lego part. So,
Oh yeah, like I said, there's a lot of floor that Lego could have taken care of, done a lot better over the years, but they haven't done anything. They've been stagnant for decades until they hired that kid. It's kind of funny, but
oh, there it is.
he's like 13 now or something like that. It's kind of funny.
Amusing that the diameter of a bump isn't 2 millimeter like it shows at the top. It's 2 times 1.6 millimeters. The Lego unit is 1.6 millimeters.
So, so Steve put
Okay.
he put a link to the specs or some of the specs. So there they are.
It sounds to me like they started making stuff and said, well, we better standardize this and came up with 1.6 millimeters.
Well, Lego has been around forever. So I think they
A
had a
very long time.
yeah, they had a standard. They just didn't tell anybody what it was.
Well, how many 9-year-olds do you know that are going to go, oh, I recognize that. That's 5 times the square root of 2 minus 3.
I
Well, I just
need
said,
I don't see that.
the 3D printer though. How many people could make their own parts?
yeah.
I just posted where that image came from. If you scroll down, there's a
Oh,
lot.
okay. I think maybe one of the online CAD programs had Lego bricks that you could build. I
Look, there's one of the Lego games has that, and you can design your own stuff and print out the instruction sheet and all the part numbers.
okay.
It's kind of funny, but he's into that real big.
Well,
I forget what it's called. It's on Steam. It's real cheap, like $7 or something.
okay. Yeah, when I don't remember which online, but when I saw it, I was like, okay, they've semi-open source Legos. That was my first thought. You just can't use the Lego brand. You got to say it's compatible. So I am printing. How far along is it? Oh, I am praying a very large gear right now because I want to take the motor, spin it really fast, but have the wheel actually turn slower. So I just not real sure how I'm going to mount everything together.
Printer parts.
Well, yes.
There's
I
some
can,
real engineering science as to how much of a reduction you can go from one large gear to a smaller one. And
yeah, there is.
yeah, if you go from too large a gear to too small a one, you run up with problems like a 100-tooth gear to a 5-tooth.
Oh no, I'm not going that small. I think I'm going 2 to 1, I think is what it is. Let me see.
I don't
Uh
know anything about it other than to know that there is a concern.
so the my large gear is 128 tooth and my small gear is 64 tooth.
Well, you shouldn't have any problem with that.
So the small gear should turn twice to every one.
2 to 1.
Yeah, should. It should, unless it starts acting weird.
Yep.
So if I'm spinning at 1500 RPM, then the wheel should be turning at like, what is it, 750?
Bloody hell, it works. I've made a couple of tiny robot arms just for fun in the past, using these little radio-controlled servos, but now I want to build something bigger. I want a robot arm which can lift a camera and give me crazy tracking shots. But in order to do this, I'm going to need to use something more powerful to move the arm. This is a NEMA 17 motor, commonly used to control 3D printers. I've made a belt reduction gearbox for these in the past, which gave me a 9-to-1 reduction, but I still need about double that in order to lift a camera. So in this video, I'll be making a 20-to-1 reduction gearbox using a cycloidal drive. Cycloidal drives work by having a number of pins equally spaced around the circle. A cycloidal disc with one less tooth than the number of pins can then be engaged with these pins. If we roll the disc around the pins, you can see the disc itself will turn. In my last video, I explained how these work and wrote a simple Fusion 360 add-in to design cycloidal drives, and I've used this here to make a cycloid with 20 nodes and 21 pins around the outside. The base allows a stepper motor to be attached, and we also have a top casing with holes to accept 2020 aluminium extrusion. Let's build it up. We'll start by adding bearings to the pin casing and the motor carrier, and then popping them together. Then we can screw in the
If you do anything in OpenSCAD, there's a Basel library for designing the cycloidal gears. Works pretty well.
Itself. Then we have a little top that goes on the eccentric cam that holds it all together and stops any wobble when it fits into a bearing in the top. At this point, we can see if it works by backdriving it. As you can see, the eccentric bearing spins really fast when the joints are moved. As if by magic, our top parts have arrived, and we can fit them together in the same way as we did the pin casing and motor carrier. There are a load of screws that hold it all together, but I'll save you the pain of watching me put them in. Right, that's all the screws in, and I've hooked it up to an Arduino, which is programmed to move it back and forth. While I was doing the screws, I took the opportunity to coat all the moving surfaces in this lovely PTFE grease to reduce friction. As you can see, it runs nice and smoothly and there is minimal vibration. Now, it's common practice to have multiple cycloids in one of these drives to minimize vibration. But our stepper motor doesn't spin very fast, so we can get away with just the one. We can connect some 2020 extrusion into the holes in the gearbox using M4 screws and T-nuts. The extrusion slides in and we lock it in place.
That's what I need. I need some 2020 extrusion.
By adding weights and seeing if the arm moves. Here we're testing 500 grams. 800 grams.
Oh, I know what this video is. I've seen this video before. I'm just listening to the audio, trying to figure out.
There's a
1.6
local
kilos.
place on Craigslist under materials that sells these type of extrusions
Well, this is odd.
by
The
weight.
stepper motor doesn't appear to be losing any steps.
Really?
It isn't
Yeah.
stepping, but we still can't lift 1.6 kilograms. After stripping the gearbox down, I found the culprit. The motor attaches to the eccentric cam by pushing into this hole. The flat on the motor matches the flat in the plastic. The 3D print itself must be deforming and slipping on the motor shaft. So back we go into Fusion, and we'll add a set screw into the cam. Here we're just making 3 holes, one for the nut to push into, one for the screw shaft, and one to hide the screw head. We can push an M3 nut into the rectangular hole, and then the screw will hold the flat on the motor shaft. Now we can check 1.6 kilos again. So it lifts it, but the plastic is just starting to bend. So if we want to lift any more, we'll need a bigger gearbox with more plastic in it. Wow, 1.6 kilograms at 30 centimeters is 4.8 newton meters of torque, double what we got from the belt gearbox I made before. I'm really happy with this result. That should be more than enough to power the arm I want to build. Please subscribe to see progress on the arm design. Click like if you've enjoyed this, and drop me a note in the comments if you've any ideas on other uses for this, or can think of any changes I could make to it. See you later.
Anybody know anybody that's into 3D scanning?
Sorry, what did you say?
That does like 3D part scanning?
I know Midpoint Library's got a 3D scanner.
I was given an iPad that has 3D scanning on it. It has a couple of nice features. It comes with a grid that you can rotate, and it will keep track of what has been scanned and what hasn't been scanned. I can bring that to an in-person if you want to play with it.
No, it's just software on an iPad.
Well, it interacts with the camera because they have an
Like a
infrared camera that
attachment.
goes along with it.
I got you. No, just a friend of mine's wanting to like scan a Commodore 64 case for some reason. I don't know why, but the Queen City Con's looking for some people to run like a 3D printer village. Anybody knows anybody? I don't know anybody at the Hive really anymore.
They've got a scanner at Midpoint Library.
Yeah, they've got a scanner at Midpoint.
Is it big enough to do like a keyboard size Commodore or whatever?
I haven't ever looked at it, but it looked to me like it wasn't that large. I have used this scanner on the inside of a room to scan the room in its entirety. Just playing with it. So it's quite capable of doing a Commodore 64.
Yeah. Now there was a guy at the Hive way back in the day had some kind of little thing that was real good about scanning rooms and stuff and books and cases and all kinds of crazy stuff. I just didn't know how accurate or how well that stuff worked for like a keyboard sized object because he's
Uh,
wanting to like 3D print a case.
well, I'm sure that there are 3D print files already for Commodore
Yeah,
stuff.
that's what I told him too, and I even sent him a link for some place that was selling it for like $15. But he said that model is split in half, and that's not right. And I'm like, you know, I don't know. Like I said, he's a nut. I told him to go just get a junk one unless he's wanting it for some reason. But man, that stuff's gotten expensive.
Yeah.
People
Oh,
want a lot of money for their old Commodore gear.
Last time I did anything with that was like 35 years ago.
I tell you, I could introduce you guys into some people that are a little fanatic about it. The Ollie's got a warehouse down in Kentucky, and it's like they actually still have Commodore Club meetings there, and I don't know how many members they have, but I mean they probably have 30 or 40 monitors. They got probably 100, 200 Commodores. Um, I know he
uh,
goes up to Cleveland, or not Chicago. I guess there's still like a Chicago meet every once or twice a year or something. He goes up to that every year. He still programs in it and stuff. I'm like, you okay?
there's
6502 assembly. Ah,
Yeah. Well, that's like he's got his what 150 what 1501 or whatever the floppy drive. He even has it. He's modified it to where you can plug it into like a USB port and download the floppies um to ISOs and stick it on a USB stick and then turn around and plug it back into an Amiga.
yeah.
It's crazy.
There's a retro computer thing that meets in Columbus once every year, I think. Uh, but it's not just Commodore. I mean, it's all retro computing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Seems to me there was a little niche machine called a Sinclair.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've had so many machines I've chucked. I had a TI 99 4A.
Still
I
have
had
one.
a really.
Yep.
I had the printer with mine too. I had the little tiny TRS-80 Model 4. Was that the little tiny one that ran basic off of two double A's? Um,
You're thinking about the Model 100,
or 104.
102.
Okay. Had one of those, threw it out. I've
Got
had,
two of those.
oh wow. Had a couple of Osbornes, had
Yeah.
just piles of stuff that if I had had a place to store it, somebody somewhere would offer me money for it. But oh well.
I've got I've got one Model 100 and one Model 102. I think the 100 is starting to develop screen issues. And then I've got the NEC 802, 1802. It's the exact same thing as the Model 100, but it's got a slightly different keyboard layout. Um, Otherwise they're identical.
Well, what was the machine whose disk drive sounded like they were grinding grain? Ah, ah, ah,
The
ah.
C64 would do that.
This is like a rainbow. I don't know.
I had
But,
a digital Rainbow 100.
well, I ran
Now that's
across
not the,
something the other day that I thought was interesting. It's an Android tablet that is at the center of a Nordic track treadmill. And I didn't know whether anybody had ever run across one of those or not.
I that really doesn't surprise me, but it doesn't it doesn't not surprise me either. So
Let me run down and show you what that is. I'll be back.
we'll be here.
Okay.
I had a couple of Coleco Atoms. Those were kind of interesting.
I had an Atom for all of about a month and really didn't like it, so I got rid of it.
So it wasn't the 102.
The Tandy 102?
No, it wasn't that.
Okay.
It was a TRS-80 pocket computer.
Okay.
It was a single line 32 character LCD.
I've got a couple of those too.
Really?
Yeah. I've got an Apple Newton.
I had one of those also.
Amazingly enough, my Apple Newton still works.
Mine died.
Oh.
Do you have the printer for the pocket computer?
I it went away. I have no idea what happened to it.
Ah,
I used to. I would
'cause I'm
love to find a complete pocket computer again. Those things were just awesome.
You know, that
there's
little
one
like
I'm looking
flip,
at on eBay right now for $70, but the display looks trashed.
Yeah,
but
that's the problem with them.
you talking about those little flip like half calculator computers?
Yeah, they kind of look like a calculator.
Are they from like the mid 90s?
No,
There's a
these were
link.
these would have been 80s, mid
Yeah,
80s.
Yeah,
mid
this is
mid 80s.
that's older. I say, I, when my buddy moved off to Seattle, I've got a bin full of old computer stuff and cabling for like all kinds of crazy crap. And there was an old flip like pocket computer, but it would have been like the early 90s or something.
A flip pocket computer,
Yep. It
like a
folds and
like a Cassiopeia.
I don't know what it was exactly. I never messed with it much. I just thought it was really cool, and I think it's still in the bin. Uh,
HP made something that had a screen that flipped down too. A Jordan, I think. I've got a couple of Cassiopeias which run Windows CE.
Ew.
Yeah, well, they are what they are. Um,
I'm trying to remember what it was called, but I had one that closed. It was the size of a VHS cassette, exactly the size of a VHS cassette. Opened up, it was, well,
yeah.
still that size, but twice as tall. It had a 640 by 480 color screen and a Pentium 60. It was
hmm,
actually pretty impressive. It was, and I had one with Red Hat 5 on it. Um, and I cannot come up with, oh, Toshiba Libretto.
a libretto. Yeah, I
It
had
was a
one.
great little toy.
I wish I would have kept that one. I sold that. I bought that at an auction and sold it because it was worth a ton of money when I bought it. And I paid like $5 for it.
Oh, yeah, I'm looking at one on eBay right now that's a grand.
Yeah,
Well,
they've
I just
they've
I just picked the whole thing up, and the the screen is not live. That's a reflection of the monitor. This is an ICON 349765, 12-volt power consumption, 24 watts. And I understand that it is an Android tablet. And the backside of it has a few connections and wire leads and stuff. I know nothing about it. I haven't done any research or anything. I didn't know whether anybody had uh, any experience with that or not.
that came off of a treadmill.
Yeah. Uh,
Huh.
And
That almost looks like my car stereo.
okay,
Looks
I'm not doing a very good job of holding that up.
like it might have been like a pocketbook.
Okay.
Um,
And it's as I understand it, it's touch
Yeah.
built in. And to couple with that, it's put together to a control board. And then the control board attaches to what you guys have seen me with before, which is a MC 2100 motor control board for the DC treadmill motors. So this ultimately that plugs into the MC 2100 with that.
Hmm.
I again just asking the question, has anybody got any familiarity with this?
I know what plastic is.
I,
Yeah.
I believe I saw a couple of USB ports on it. I know what USB ports are.
It has
wires. I know wires.
I know wires.
Collectively, we've got this down.
You guys are just so helpful.
So what are you trying to get it to do? Run again or
I'm
something
not trying
else?
to get it to do anything. This is a part that came with other stuff. I'm not looking to do anything with it. It has HDMI,
He's just curious about it. It's
yeah,
Yeah.
and it has two USBs on it. It has a micro SD card reader, as well as a power supply port for 12 volts, and then all of these other
so
connections.
I
if
would say Hackaday probably tell you how to do something with it.
yeah. Well,
I'm sorry, say again.
I said Hackaday probably tell you how to do something with it.
Well, I'm
The
not certain
website.
I want to do anything with it.
if I were guessing, it probably is. It's probably an older Android tablet. It probably uh has a custom desktop on it that boots right into the software for the treadmill and pretty much doesn't do anything else. So you would need to jailbreak it and load up a version of Android to make it useful as an actual tablet.
So you could probably plug the screen into some kind of controller too and hook it up to whatever you want.
Yeah.
Well, if it's got HDMI on it, so maybe it had the ability to show a video while you were jogging on your treadmill, a motivational video or something.
Or like
Keep it
you're
up, keep it up, keep going.
or walking through some city in the middle of nowhere.
Yep.
Yeah.
Buddy's treadmill does that. They got a lot bigger screens nowadays, though, I guess.
But
Well,
but
this has some age on it, that's for sure.
if I were guessing, it's got a custom bootloader on it, so you would have to use like an ABD tool in your computer to even reload it in the first place.
Okay, so
But
the
it
answer
probably
is
could be
no.
done.
Well,
Well,
yes, but the answer to my question is this isn't something that you guys are familiar with.
no,
No,
but we could take some educated guesses.
that's that.
Our next in person that I attend, I will bring it. And Steve, you can tell me that you're familiar with gravity when you pick.
I I know what a PCV is. See, we got this covered. We know enough stuff.
Yeah.
I know what a TFT screen is.
Uh,
We're not helpful at all, are we?
well, just to give you some idea of this crap, the name of this small controller board, the name that's printed on it in the corner says Stuffed Goose 13.
Stuffed Goose 13, huh?
Nice.
I don't know whether that'll come through or not.
Not really. Let's see
Okay.
if my speaking of Android tablets, my old 2013 Nexus 7 tablet is still working and shouldn't be. It should be dead. It has a complete uh a very old version of Android on it that has long been unsupported. But I play Sudoku on it, so I we were talking about old computers. I wish I would have remembered you, Barry, that had a friend, because I just got rid of two Commodore 64s that I don't think were working anymore.
You're
And
killing me. You're killing me,
and
sir.
he
Yeah,
pro he
they're easy
probably would
enough
have
to fix.
he probably would have loved them. He probably would have taken them. I sold them, but
I say they're pretty easy to fix. Usually it's just a fuse or a
uh
corroded cap, unless it's the
they
Yeah,
power supply.
I think the power supply on these had caused some issues, but uh I've still got my Apple IIc. I've still got my TI 99.
I have an Apple II GS.
yeah.
I had a GS for a while. I like the C a little bit better, so I got rid of the GS.
I was at a thrift store in Las Vegas at one point, and it was $25, and I didn't buy it. An Apple II Lisa.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Oh, you're
I had
killing
no
me.
idea what it was at the time. If I had, I would have given him 50.
An Apple II Lisa. The the rare Apple II Lisa.
Yeah, I think they only made like 600 or 700 of them.
Oh, that really expensive one.
Yeah.
That goes for auctions like 20, 30,000 now, right?
No idea how much.
Just,
Nothing cheap, I'm sure of that.
just rub
Well,
it in, Ray. Rub it in.
I'll just, try to be helpful. It's like my buddy with Bitcoin that bought a pizza for 20 Bitcoin. We used to have fun when he was at $30,000 or $40,000. It's like, no, it hit 100,000 the other day. It was real fun to talk to him again.
there's Mr. Ray.
So what time zone are you in, Ray?
I'm right there with you, buddy.
Oh, on the way, you're in California?
I'm actually up in Seattle. Oh, north of Seattle.
Okay. Okay.
Yep, yeah.
You need a sidekick, Ray?
I'm no, not today. So I got done with my customer. I thought I'm done early. I'm gonna go, get me some food from Firehouse, and then I got here. I'm sitting down, thinking, I got plenty of time to get back to the airport, pick up my feet, be like 5:30, and I'll be able to. Wait a minute, wrong time zone. Oh crap! Like I better check see if they're still.
Still a meeting.
We're still here.
Now I was sitting here eating, and then I'm looking through Facebook. And they've got that Facebook Marketplace, Like somebody selling a bunch of battle bots. Turns out they're like toys. But I was still like, that reminds me. Today's Thursday. Oh crap.
It's all right.
So Al, where are you at in California?
I'm in the Bay Area. I'm in Fremont.
So I was just down in LAX. I was about an hour south in Anaheim.
Yeah. Yeah, you're about 400 miles south of me when you were there.
Okay.
You're in Seattle now?
Yes.
In a firehouse. Those are good. They have great subs.
Oh yeah, I love Firehouse. And it's funny. I have like 4 or 5 customers within 20 miles of here. I don't know why it's such a hot spot for me, but every time I come down here, it's about every 3 or 4 months or so. It's like I'm gonna find Firehouse. Turns out to be the same place. I'm like, yeah, I remember parking here. Yeah, it's a good place to eat. A great sandwich. A little pricey, but it's good.
And really spicy pickles.
No,
Mississippi.
they're good. Not spicy, but it's good stuff. Who else we got
Yeah.
today? I heard Barry. I heard Al.
They also give a military discount. The one here in town is like 15%, which is,
Hmm.
you have to ask.
Yeah. A Commodore PET.
I had that model, except it was a 2001 series, but it was called the Teacher's Pet with that same useless little keyboard.
Yep. The chiclet keyboards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I paid, oh shoot. I paid about $1,000 for it. It was used when I got it, but relatively recent.
I
That was a
it,
heavy computer. That thing was solid steel.
yep. 20 years ago, maybe, out at Traders World Flea Market, there was a guy who was selling pets. He had a
His
bunch
name
of
was
them.
Rob,
Was it?
Rob Doss.
Okay. I don't know. He was selling them for like $60 a piece.
Hmm.
Yep. We bought half a dozen of them from him, turned around and sold them on eBay, all but one. We kept one. And I thought at the time my partner was insane for keeping it. And he said, no, it's just going to go up. It's just going to go up. It's just going to go up. After he passed away and died, his wife sold it, knew that I had part ownership of it, and that one sold for $1,500 maybe. It was some insane price. I'm like, we should have just kept all of them. We just should have held on to all of them. But I have no experience with the Commodore PET really. I, I know what it was. I know it was big and heavy.
Oh yeah. What? I can give them because they're like two for like $3.
What?
I always think them long and lose.
Uh, I've got you remember or you know about the Commodore Maxi that's was the retro something computer?
No,
It's a modern interpretation of the Commodore 64. I've got one of
nice.
those. Um, I've turned it on once, I think. I don't suppose I'd be able to go to the Commodore Club with a Commodore Maxi. They probably would not be happy with me.
Big growl.
They would growl. You're not a real Commodore enthusiast. Uh, hey Ray, you
Yes,
got
sir.
a 2020 extrusion?
Yes. You're talking about like the 80/20 style erector set?
Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
so.
But you're looking for 20 millimeter by 20 millimeter components?
Yeah.
Yeah. Got a bunch of that stuff. Whole bunch of it.
How much you want for a piece of it?
I don't know.
Okay. That's fair.
I haven't looked at it in maybe a year. I'm sure it's still there though. I've got all the connector pieces and stuff. I don't know what you're looking for. What do you want to do with it?
Um, where'd the motor
You only
go?
need one little piece of it?
Eh,
I'll
foot,
sell you a half inch. No problem.
a foot long. I don't know.
That's
I was
it.
going. Do what? Yeah,
That's
I
all you
was
need.
going. That robot with the BLDC drive. I was going to figure out how to mount the motors to it.
Hell, I got
Oh,
all laying in a
you know
shop
I have
out
a
back.
metal cutting laser and I can make any shape you want.
Okay. I don't know what shape I need.
I have a metal cutting laser that can make any shape you might need or want. All you got to do is come down to the shop, bring your motor, bring your other stuff. We'll design something out on CAD and then we'll cut it with a laser. I have stainless steel, aluminum, cold steel,
I
galvanized.
I have this feeling that Ray needs an excuse to use the.
I want to play with the laser.
Here-
That is a hell of a laser, man. Yeah, I've been playing with the little ones, the 51 inch by 51 inch. It's like 1,500 watts. It'll cut through a half-inch steel. And last week I got to play with a big one. It's got a 5 foot by 10 foot bed on it, 1,500 watts, and it just makes me giddy. So it was fun. I made a ranch plaque, big ranch sign for somebody, and yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
All right.
I was throwing sparks for an hour. It was great.
Well, when are you going to be back in town?
I got a red eye flight tonight, so I'll be back in 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. I should be home all weekend. So
I'll,
give me a
I'll
call.
s- okay. I'll do that. We'll see.
Yeah.
Um, what are you trying to share, Mike?
I am trying to share a screen that shows the extrusions that are available on Craigslist for Dayton. And all I'm being able to do is screw up.
All I see is your desktop.
Yeah,
Yep, we see a desktop.
And do you have a bird sitting on your hand?
Peacock, parrot,
oh no. Um, this is the my apologies.
optical illusion.
Uh, I photoshopped out the paper cup of Coke that I had in my hand.
Oh,
Ah,
one is sugary and very sweet. The other one's a woman, and we don't know anything about women. So
What?
I want to turn this off and I can't do it. I shouldn't be allowed near a computer.
I turned it off.
Thank you.
Computer. Okay.
Mike, you're the one that sent me the information about the lights, the warehouse
Yes.
lights.
Yes.
Okay.
And I'll continue to throw that stuff in your
I appreciate it.
mailbox. And if you don't, and ignore it if you don't want it.
I appreciate the referrals, because every once in a while I was like, yeah, I need this or I need that. And I have a friend down in North Carolina that caught onto some track lighting. And now that's what got me way into the track lighting for one of the areas. So another big project coming around for me, install the track lighting and all the can lighting and a whole bunch of other stuff. But yeah, looking for 4-foot, 2 light bulb type, like workshop light fixtures. So that's just so I can put some lighting down in the work sections, work zones. Then I'll be doing it's like 2 bulbs side by side, 8 feet long. Actually, it's 4 bulbs, 4 4-foot long bulbs. That gets me 2 side by side, 8 feet long. We'll be using those upstairs in the workshop areas, the work bays. So here within about a month and a half, I'll be setting up the wood shop and getting my roof finished, keeping everything dry. Yeah. But that's all the work that's going on over at the Journal building. There's a lot. Actually, there's always stuff going on. I got lots of stuff to do.
So that aluminum channel that you posted a link to,
Yes.
2 of them come up. One is north of Cleveland. And the one in Milford is $10 a section.
They show up on Craigslist under materials pretty much all the time.
Yeah, that piece is 40 by 40, isn't it? $200, 80/20 style.
That's 2020. He's got a whole bunch of it I'm sorry, 80/80. He's got a whole bunch of it that's 3 feet long.
It says Milford, but it's listed on the Detroit Metro.
Oh, maybe it's Milford, Detroit.
Yeah,
Or-
but what's the actual dimension on that piece? Is it 40 by 40 or is it? Oh, it's 80 by 80 by 36 long.
And that's a weird slot style too.
Mm,
At least in the smaller stuff, it doesn't have the little overhangs into the slots.
Detroit Metro.
yeah,
That's
I got a whole CNC machine built out of this type stuff. It's
Yeah.
it's huge. It's thousands of pounds. But I also have where somebody else had built a laser machine out of the 20 by 20 millimeter stuff, and I took it all apart because really it was just open frame, and it was dangerous for somebody to use it because as soon as you walked over to it and started rattling it, the whole frame would move. Therefore, the laser would come out of alignment and it would spray laser beam everywhere. And I was like, that's just so dangerous. I told him, like, dude, I will sell you a used laser frame and we'll rebuild it. And I just want to make sure that this other laser thing you've got, this Frankenstein, gets out of the market. I want it gone. So I completely
Of the
disassembled it,
environment.
all the pieces into a box, and that box has been sitting in my shop for maybe 5 years. I was just waiting for a project to do with it. But yeah, you're welcome to come over and get you a piece of 80/20 if you want. 20/20 aluminum extrusion stuff. Or you can bring your project and we'll just cut something out of the laser.
I really think you just want to use your laser. But you
Yes,
don't
I
get
do.
to use very much.
I'm not subtle about that at all, am I?
Not even a little. right.
Julie bought me a
Uh,
shirt that says, "These things take time." So, a mere 5 years, these things take time.
Yeah, I throw it in the corner or whatever. I'll use it eventually.
The thing is you throw it in one corner and then stuff piles on it and piles on it and piles on it. And
then I had to buy
eventually,
a pallet rack to put on top of that so I could, sort things out a little bit better. Oh yeah, I know exactly where this stuff is at. I'll use it. It didn't cost me anything to get it, not really. So
it's in there somewhere.
Yeah,
What
it's within the 6 walls of the building.
6 walls of the building.
Well, counting the floor.
I don't really understand Craigslist going to Detroit Metro when you started off in Dayton. That's just weird.
And I'm sorry, I didn't pay any attention to where that was. I saw Milford and I thought it was just local.
Well, I would have assumed that it was local as well. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, they used to say real specifically, no local things found. These are not too far off.
Yeah.
200 miles away. So, all right. It is like 2 till. So let's run through this. We're virtual next week. Then on April 3rd, we are Midpoint, Westchester, 5 to 7. April 10th at Mason, 5 to 7. And then we'll go from there. So we are virtual next week though. So hopefully I will see everybody again.
Okay.
Yep.
So
Yep.
Let's call it a night. And
Quick thing here. I was digging through
yep.
junk. Does anybody need a Raspberry Pi 1?
I gave away a bunch of Raspberry Pi 1s.
Okay.
That would give me something to play with. I learn about Raspberry Pis, but no. I gotta say no.
No, it
It
sounds
is
like
the
a yes.
slowest of the pies.
Thank you very much.
Well,
But
we'll see you guys later.
If you want to bring the pie and teach me about it, then we'll do something else on the laser. But
Okay.
We could laser the pie.
Oh, no.
Oh no.
Make a box for it.
I'm leaving now. Bye.
Later, y'all.
Bye.